Welcome, one and all, to Enlightened Conversations, where this season we're going just that little bit deeper and not skimming on the judgy surface of life. I will also be sharing conversations with my guides, and you can be guaranteed that all the topics that come through are authentic, life-changing, and enlightened, because we want you to live a more joyful, peaceful, and loving vibration. Let's go. Hi everyone, it's Michelle Lightworker here, and welcome to Enlightened Conversations. Today we're going to be speaking about imprints. We mentioned them in our previous episode, and some of you may or may not have understood what I was talking about. What are you talking about? Healing your imprints. So I thought I'd expand on it and also share a very personal story of my own that occurred back in 2018 when I had a realization that I had actually healed all my imprints. But just for those of you who don't know what imprints are when the body stores a memory of a traumatic event, and that event it occurs when we hold our breath, and it gets stored in our body when we're in that fight or flight traumatic response to any abuse or trauma or an accident or a horrific event that we've witnessed. And so the body stores these memories in them. When they're not resolved, that's when we encounter those flashbacks and those recurring things. And it's like our body's trying to tell us to heal, to resolve, to find a way to assist our body to release that held on to trauma and memory that was in that fight or flight response. It's like it goes around in a circular pattern and never resolves itself. So what we can do is we can identify what kind of imprint we have. There are two main kinds of imprints. The first imprint is an obvious one when we feel disgusted, like nauseous, and it's toxic, and it feels like when we remember something we want to be sick, and often that's what we call a yang imprint or a hot imprint, where abuse or someone else has carried shame or abuse their energy has directly imposed upon our energetic field, and we feel that very hot and shame. We might even get hot ourselves and flushed when we have that memory. A lot of sexual abuse survivors have those kind of responses to having those memories. And I would say, when you're working with people or want to heal those aspects yourself, the best preparation you can give yourself is to nourish yourself with lots of self-care and self-love and gentleness, and surround yourself with very safe people if you want to actually work through that kind of imprint and release that kind of imprint. The second kind of imprint is a yin imprint, which is more akin to what I was talking about in my previous episode, which was the not enoughness wound. Those kind of imprints are very cold and empty and hollow, and you crave more and more and more, and you want to fill them up with booze or eating or work or sex or someone, like love addiction and that kind of thing. Obviously, we can want to medicate our not enoughness wounds or our yin imprints that are caused usually through abandonment of some kind, and usually it happens at an early age, where someone isn't around who was our primary caretaker and who we felt wasn't giving us our needs. They might have been present even in the room, but they were emotionally abandoning us, and so we never got that nourishment, that energy, that spiritualized food that we needed to nourish ourselves. So that is traumatic, and it is disassociative as well. Sometimes we can feel like we're not in our bodies. Sometimes we can feel like our feelings are numb. It's very on the spectrum of abandoning ourselves as well. We can go into depression, anxiety, mental illness, and often that can also slide into addiction, because we have the not enoughness wounds there, and then we want to fill them, and then we are more open, you could say, to being abused and creating trauma and attracting the wrong kind of people for us in our lives. And so we can get into toxic relationships that can be violent, and then the more abuse and more trauma can also follow. apart from also the fact that we're abusing ourselves. So there's a pattern of behavior that repeats itself. That is the best way I can describe imprints that are not healing. I mean, I believe in past lives, but I also believe that we recreate trauma for ourselves in this life that hasn't resolved from either this lifetime of our past, like our childhood, etc., or from previous lifetimes. But however, it doesn't really matter. Like in terms of ownership, we as adults, if we want to reclaim our energy, and we have the power to do that and resolve our imprints, then we need to actually make a decision. We need to say, yes, I am willing to resolve my imprints. I am willing to heal and go on that journey. And so the imprints that we feel are usually stuck energy in our body too. So those kind of places in our body where either in our physical body or in our energetic body, like our energetic body might be our crown, our third eye, our ear chakras, our throat chakra, our heart chakra, our solar plexus chakra, our sacral chakra down near our tummy, and our base chakra, which grounds us into our sexual energy and also our legs. If we have issues in our energetic centers, that can also play into stagnation in our energetic body, and then that can create disruption and flow from different organs communicating to each other. That can create a health issue because all our organs are related to our different health issues and our chi moving through our body, like in traditional Chinese medicine where they talk about acupressure points and acupuncture points. So when those stagnations happen, that's when we feel pain. That's also when we feel chronic illness can creep in, undiagnosed issues like why do I feel this weird pain here and things like that. But then also tumors and other issues can also become a symbol, I guess you could say, or a representation of that unresolved issue. So we have the power to heal our body, we have the power to heal our energetic system, and it all does really begin with a decision. Free will, willingness is one of my principles, is really where it's at. And so that's a little bit of a backdrop on imprints. And when you're working, as I have, when you've worked with a lot of people healing their imprints, they come in all different shapes and sizes. There's a number of different modalities that you can use to help to heal them. Art therapy is fantastic because you get a visual picture of what that actual imprint looks like. It's more externalized for the person looking at that imprint. And they get it, it's like, oh, that's what's going on inside me. I get it. And then the therapeutic response can be a number of different things that we help that person. It could be inner child healing. It could be channeling through different energy that person specifically needs for healing of that imprint. It could be working more with the principles on self-compassion and love and forgiveness of others and a whole range of things. It could be shadow work where you have to face that aspect of yourself that is repeating the original traumas that you've experienced or the original abuse that was experienced, and reclaiming your shadow and understanding how you're acting that out now. And it just really does come from that place of willingness, and those two principles of willingness and responsibility, I can't reiterate enough how important those two principles are in working with imprints. You really do need to claim it. You need to say to yourself, yeah, this is my responsibility, this is my body, and I now choose. My body, my choice. I now choose to do this. So having a little bit of that backdrop, you may or may not be interested to hear this next bit, but I just wanted to share it with you because it came through with a conversation with my Intergalactic friend Ralph, and he identifies as a he, so I just call him he. He mentioned to me that I had healed all my imprints one sunny morning as I was walking along on my morning walk. So I just thought I'd share it with you because I wasn't expecting it. It doesn't mean I'm imprint free from here on in. I could tomorrow or today even, I could experience a trauma and hold my breath and go through that whole trauma cycle of grief. But at that point, I was really free of it. And I really wanted to share it with you because I'm wanting to share all the conversations I've had that I've journaled. So I'll just start and read this one for you. So some information on the 13th of August came through in 2018 that I was reminded to record, and it was very personal. And at the time, I really didn't even think it was relevant to pass on to anyone else. However, on greater reflection and a gentle nudge from the universe with repeated signs, I knew it was one to record and pass on. So I had been requested by Ralph to scan my body a week prior to this entry, which was the 13th of August, and asked to check for any imprints in my body. Imprints being unresolved trauma, abuse, a psychic attack, or passed on unresolved stuff from my genealogy and ancestors. I scanned my body a bit like an MRI, but in my mind, I was shown there were none. I had 3 areas that required some energetic attention on the physical level to move the energy. However, there were no imprints. I was also shown that this was very different. For instance, when I saw the energetic stagnation, it was very much on the meridian lines of both my legs. One on my knee that had recently been a bit tender, the other on my right hip, which I knew was definitely healing from the week prior, as I had actually addressed an imprint from a past life that I had no idea was my final imprint. I felt it was already in process of restoring its flow. I was given a free Bowen treatment from a friend the next day. It reinforced this healing. I had numbness from my shoulder to my fingers for a day, and then it totally disappeared. My hips felt rebalanced along with my whole body. I felt that I had attracted the solution, and as I shifted, this was another way we manifest. I felt that I had attracted the solution, and as I had, it shifted. This is another way we manifest. When we do the inner work, we manifest the physical solutions to assist us. The other leg, the left one, had an energetic stagnation on the outside of the leg near the shin. I now feel this was also part of the rebalancing. My last imprint was that of being bound at hips, tied, hands tied with rope in conjunction with hips. So the numbness after the Bowen made so much sense to me the next day. My feet were also bound. My mouth was bound. It was Aztec times, and I later researched that the heart was cut out as part of a ritual by the Aztec priests whilst the human sacrifices' feet and hands were bound. This made sense to me as my heart meridian down the left arm was numb for a whole day after my Bowen. Nevertheless, this imprint was released, and the next day I felt the urge to cut my hair. I had cut it in a short bob after 13 years of long hair. It was so liberating, I cannot describe. I felt a huge release of the past, and that week we celebrated Lionsgate 8818, which was all about letting go of the past and stepping into our purpose. So here I am reflecting on all this now and feeling immensely grateful. I never expected to arrive at a place whereby I had released all my imprints from my past unresolved traumas. I feel very grateful and at peace. This past 10 days since the release, my body has come into a lightness I cannot even describe, because how can one feel so light but so grounded at the same time? This is how I feel. This message I got around this was also regarding my actual weight as well. I had just lost a bit of weight after writing conversations with Ralph. My body wanted a physical release and I went with it. And then my focus on losing weight had reached an end on that day. I felt my body speak to me in its entirety of happiness. So I was just in a very happy place. However, when I went on the scales the next week, I had lost more weight, more than I had in 1 week than I had in the numerous weeks beforehand. And I knew it was because of the energetic shift. I could just feel it. It just fell off with no effort, and it was just aligning itself with my new vibrational frequency. And then I got more information about my past anorexia, which I now know I'm called to share. So we're going to move into this because this was all in the one journal posting, and often information slides into other information. So this information may relate to those of you who have not experienced anorexia. However, you feel that even when you lose weight, you still feel heavy, like you need to lose more weight. Well, I was shown that the unresolved imprints on our body get in the way of us really seeing what our bodies look like. They are like energetic barriers to seeing the truth. They are also the cause of weight gain that matches the heaviness that they represent as well. So I had heaviness creep onto my hips for sure. I had issues with my shoulder and my feet didn't want to move much. So this imprint, this final one, was key in getting my body back into alignment with where my spiritual body wanted to be, and it was so effortless. So I knew that when I was anorexic, around 14 kilos lighter than the goal weight that I was at when I wrote this entry, what I saw that was distorted was a representative of how many imprints I needed to let go of. There was nothing that could shift my view at the time to make me see that I was seeing a distorted view, because I was, in a way, seeing the truth. Who would have thought that? On the one hand, we tell anorexics what they see is distorted, thereby denying the actual the psychic abilities, or third eye, is picking up on a truth at play. Wow, this was huge. Huge in validating the sight on anorexics. When we tend to highlight how distorted they are seeing things, we fail to realize that they are in some way seeing what needs to be resolved in order for them to feel at home in their body. This was such a huge revelation that I cannot describe the joy I feel in my heart right now. I look back at my anorexic self, age 20, and I see that she saw something. She couldn't put a finger on it. She didn't know how to resolve it. She wasn't going to settle. She was determined to reach her goal. She just didn't know that she was going about it the wrong way round. That controlling her food, her body, and her compulsions was actually not going to make her feel at peace in her body. These realizations were so liberating for me, as I had also been overweight and would feel those same feelings of discomfort in my body. There were two feelings, the one I just described and the other where my body wasn't matching how my spirit was actually feeling. But it was doing what it was doing in holding onto the weight because it was mirroring the final imprint. It couldn't do otherwise. So what did my imprint represent? Feeling tied down. And what was I really wanting to do lately? Travel. And also it was about speaking my truth at the same time. Tony and I are heading off to Europe in 4.5 weeks' time, and I've never been more ready to go than now. In the past, I'd always had things I was cramming to finish, but this time I was ready 3 weeks ago, so my spirit was ready to embrace wherever I am as my home. My work now mobile, I didn't feel I had to be in the one place. I had reached a place of readiness and embrace wherever my path takes me. A very exciting time. Okay, and also on another physical note, I had attracted information on investing wisely that same week. We were really being put in the right flow on that physical level. The body, the money, all that base chakra stuff was really grounding itself in a highly spiritualized way. Even the fact that I got a call on the 8th of the 8th, the 18th, from my publisher stating that the production production of Conversations with Ralph was ahead of schedule, and did I mind? I was so happy. Even this was a huge confirmation of the universal nod I was being given to actually resolve my own final imprint from the past, and then be told my book that is all about resolving was being sped up for the production. Amazing. So that's my entry, and it's interesting because that was in 2018, and we are now in 2025, 7 years later, and all those investments, now I'm retired from all that smart investing and all that, everything that came through there now has allowed me to retire, and not only that, but achieve the travel goals and things like that. Tony and I traveled all last year, as I mentioned in my previous episodes, and so now we're retired and able to turn up the spirit freely. There's no time restraints. There's no physical restraints, because fit and healthy, and put on weight. Sure did put on weight when I turned 51. My menopausal stuff really did kick in, and Mum had just passed away, and I wasn't really giving my body the attention that it required at that time. And that's an interesting observation, with my weight going up from grief and having to be the big girl and put my big girl pants on and handle the whole estate and do all that stuff. And because my brother had passed the previous year of that journal writing, so he was well and truly out of the picture at that point. And to have to be mindful of your physical reality as being a top priority as you age, that has become really into my focus. What happens to me when I tend to allow myself to put on a bit more weight is I tend to feel that I am out of alignment with my spiritual body now. So like even when we're traveling, I was actually on a weight loss journey 6 months into our travels, because I felt like I really wanted to at least feel like I want to eat the way my spirit feels good, and there were so many temptations, and the cheeses and the cakes and the, oh my gosh, and to say, yeah, but what my preference, what my spiritual body really feels it needs is vegetables and fruit and high protein vegetarian food, and just to really align myself with that, and as a discipline when I was traveling was really huge, and to come back and to reach my goals physically now, I just feel so excited and happy, and in line with the freedom of feeling heaviness and imprints and distorted views. Like, I think, because I'm happy now at the weight I'm happy now, I think that if I looked at myself in the mirror and looked heavy, or looked like I wasn't in the right zone, that would probably be more of a red flag that I'm holding on to a trauma or an imprint. Like, I'd probably go there in my mind before I went, I need to lose some weight, because I'm at a maintenance zone. I'm focusing on strength. I'm walking every day. I'm doing my rebounding. I'm, but not excessively. Walks are therapeutic. The rebounding is only for half an hour. I do my weights a couple of times a week. And yoga and swimming and cycling are just fun activities that we do. Usually Tony and I do them together, and we're adventuring or doing something like that. So I'm really in that place, like personally, like 7 years after that journal entry, where I can honestly say that this information, this knowledge on imprints, is a great tool to have, so that you understand when you're looking at your physical body, how it manifests back to you, so that that feedback loop into your brain isn't, saying I'm fat. It may be saying, oh wow, I feel I look heavier today. I'm probably not, but maybe I'm carrying some heaviness. Maybe I'm needing to resolve something, and then going on a journey of discovery rather than on a diet or something, So for those of you who may struggle with weight, it is tough kind of getting that consistency happening and maintaining that consistency. The best way you can do it is a combination of lots of physical self-care and nurturing in a gentle way, but also a commitment and a discipline to yourself, so that you actually are kind to your insides, not just your what we look on the outside. Because I noticed when I was carrying a bit more weight, that my heart, in the heat would really struggle. Like, I had a couple of experiences where my heart wouldn't slow down, and it just made me sad, actually. I thought, gosh, my poor little heart, like, I really care about it, and I really want to make sure it's okay. So I'm just going to leave it here, and just we'll do a bit more of a deep dive into the not enoughness wounds, for sure, because I think that honestly requires a whole episode on itself. But I think the imprints are really important to resolving, and I think that when you understand about intergenerational imprints offloading, you understand that what you don't resolve, you can pass on, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're passing that on to your children. That could mean you're passing on to any members of your family. And also there's a lot of transferences that occurs between close friends, and people carry our wounds. So we're all united. So sometimes we don't feel worthy enough to heal our imprints, and the reason that we have to start, be motivated to start, is more about caring about how our energy is affecting other people. And those imprints don't resolve just because you die either. They they still hang around. So your energetic body is your energetic body. The best workout you can do is working these imprints out and healing them. I'm going to leave it there, as I said, and I'm going to wish you all a wonderful day of hopefully feeling like you can claim your body back today and feel like it's yours. You're willing to love it. You're willing for it to be clear. You're willing for it to be light and free and joyous, happy, joyous and free. Big love to you all. You all deserve it. We all deserve it. And we all affect everyone else. So remember that as you walk your fine journey. Bye for now.